Today I'm going to discuss the Ferrari of Theseus. Hey everybody, welcome back. I am your host, Primo, and this is Carside Chat. And I want to talk about, there was a short that we had not too long ago, actually a really popular one, that talked about a Ferrari that sold for close to $2 million. That was not much of a Ferrari. It was actually more of a shell of a Ferrari with an engine and some tires and some other parts. But people kept asking, like, why would this thing sell for so much? And so I did. I made a short on it. This was something that was driven by Franco, one of the first drivers for Ferrari. It had VIN numbers, it had homologation papers, and if you have a car like that that has all its matching stuff, the goal is you can actually rebuild it and have it rebuilt by the factory to make it back to basically its former glory, if you will. So people said, is that feasible? Can they do that? And absolutely. It's the reason it went for all the money it went. Obviously, first Ferrari driver drove it. It was the one of 13. So obviously a rare car, a real race car. There's a lot going for it. So somebody brought up something called the story of Theseus. And the story of Theseus goes something like this. And before I even start the story, I am not an expert on Theseus, nor do I ever want to become one. But the concept was that Theseus had a boat, and the boat was kind of getting bad and it was falling apart. So he went and had all this wood brought in and basically rebuilt the boat from stem to stern using all new wood, all new everything, new metal, put it back together. When people saw the boat, they originally said, well, this is Theseus's boat. But then the philosophy kicked in, and the question was, as if the boat was rebuilt from stem to stern using all new wood and new stuff, then is it really still Theseus's boat, or is it a whole new boat itself? So that analogy rang true with the Ferrari. So here's a hunk of metal. It really isn't much more than that. So if somebody went in and rebuilt this, they'd literally have to go through and put every new bolt, every new thing in it. It would basically be rebuilt other than the shell as a brand new car from stem to stern. So is it still the car that Franco drove, or is it a totally new car unto itself? And if it is a new car, does it still have that value? And this is something that's really driven people crazy, because it is a great question of saying, you know, what makes a car not a kit car at this point? What's the difference between me building a shell that's a matching car, matches all the details, going to the factory, buying all the stuff, putting the car back together and making virtually a one-of-one car and saying, this is a Ferrari? Now, obviously, if I did that, Ferrari would have some serious questions for me. Probably a cease and desist letter, a couple of copyright claims. I'm sure there'd be a lot of stuff involved in it, even if all the parts in it had their parts in the car. But for some reason, if somebody takes the shell and rebuilds the car, nobody has a problem. And in fact, it'll probably be rebuilt by the factory, so their hands are all over it anyway. And it is a great discussion. At which point, or what percentage of a car being rebuilt does it still constitute being the same car? I'm sure nobody here would ever say that the car that they sent to the shop, if it needed a couple of nuts and bolts, new brakes, a couple of new parts here and there, they'd never say, like, this is a totally brand new car. For the most part, people kind of identify a car as the shell around the car itself and then the pieces that make it up. And I think that's where the biggest hurdle is when it comes to building a car, or at least from this aspect of the government. The government's going to stamp a VIN number on the frame of the car and say, this is what makes the car the car. So basically, if I change the inside of the interior, if I change the engine, if I change all the other parts on it, if I go back and have the car registered, or if I verify something with the government, they're going to look at that VIN number and say what matches and what doesn't, but they're still going to say it's the same car. The other big concern with this is cars are built different when it comes to supercars and the way they were built back in the day. The biggest thing back then was coach work. Basically, a wooden frame would be put around, the metal would be formed to fit to that specific vehicle. There's going to be more questions for a car like that, because it's not just the frame anymore. It's the frame, the body, it's the pieces together that make the car a whole that really brought its value. So I'm sure no matter what I say next, people are not going to agree with it. There are going to be people that say, well, it works, or those it doesn't. The beauty is in the eye of the collector, and that's the person that's going to spend the money. And if there are other collectors that believe it has the same kind of value, then there it is. But my position is pretty straightforward. Tires, wheels, there's a lot of things that change on a car, but as long as the basis of the car remains the same, then it's definitely the same car. And that's going to start with the frame. And then after that will be the engine, and then after that will be the bodywork. Let's be honest, everybody gets into fender benders left and right. The shell of a car, it's moved around, replaced, fillered. If you've done any work on cars, you understand there's a lot of things that change on cars, especially in any sort of external accident, that really doesn't matter anymore. As long as that frame is there and there's a solid underpinning, the car can be rebuilt. And if we put it in the context of human being, scientists will tell you every 7 years, the cells of the human body get recreated, basically. I don't understand the full science of it, but I understand the concept that, things grow, we cut our nails, we trim our hair, we do a lot of the things that is literally our body resetting over and over again. But nobody really questions if the person that's talking right now, every 7 years, am I a new person? No. And the reason is because the heart that beats within my body and the brain that powers me is the same exact thing that ran 2 weeks ago as it will 10 to 20 years down the road. So for me, officially, the only time a car changes is when I can't find the engine to it, I don't have a frame, and I don't have the body of the exterior that went with the car. But that does bring us to another important point. What about kit cars? If I build a kit car and it matches another car, did it actually become that car if I built it from the same stuff that came from the factory? And the official response to that is no. Not that I don't want it to be that way, because I would love it if Ferrari would say, yes, build your own car and we'll give you the stuff. But that's never going to happen. The truth is, if you build a car and you used anybody's pieces, it would be the same as like Porsche. Porsche uses parts from, or at least it used to, from everybody. Bosch, Audi, Volkswagen. Everything came together to build the car, but the nameplate on it is still Porsche. I'm sure there's tons of other options where there's bodies and other things that were used to put together a car, but hey, that car is that brand, and it's been VIN numbered and stamped, or however you want to approach it, to be that car. So if you built a matching car and said it was a kit car, it would literally have to match whatever that specific build was to be able to be a perfect replica. But even then, it's still your car. Now, I gotta say, I would love to see people be able to get shells or models and basically Lego themselves new cars on a regular basis. I think we're at the point now where the technology is available to everybody to basically build anything from scratch. All you need is a good welding guy that'll put together a frame for you, almost like building a go-kart. If you can get a model or some sort of thing to put it together to say this is how to do it, and you have enough skill, I think we should allow that. I also think it's going to kind of be the future, because there comes a point when the cars that we love are going to be made illegal, and if they're made illegal, then the only option we have is to really go in our backyard and put something together. Now, whether that car will be identified as illegal in the future, or if there will be some sort of illegal car, which seems weird to even think about, but the future is coming, so who knows where it's going to go. And the idea that no matter what car I built, there's going to be things like copyrights, and if you built a car and said that looks exactly like a Lamborghini, then there's going to be companies that say we don't really appreciate that. That being said, with the technology out there shouldn't be anything stopping anybody from making basically some sort of original artwork, stamping their name on it and saying, here you go, this is a brand new car. And the reality is I think that's the reason we've seen a lot of supercars out there right now, and why it's exploded is because the access to the technology, which used to be totally foreign and completely limited to a certain type of person that was mentored over and over to build the car. Now that access is an email away, a click, a contact on social media. And that's a good thing. There's always room for growth and to make new cars and to be a competitor in the space. And even though I've kind of put a cap on the Ferrari of Theseus right now and said, look, the engine's there, the body's there, if the frame is there and you're close enough to get the wheels or whatever, then yeah, it's pretty much the same car. I'm 100% sure that people will continue to discuss this until their eyes fall out, and there'll always be some sort of ruling between collectors. And you know what? I'm more than welcome to that discussion, and so should you. The truth is, any opportunity we have to rebuild a piece of history is an awesome opportunity, especially barn finds that are becoming more and more common. I mean, this car had 20 Ferraris that were in this barn that were just sitting there collecting dust. And now there's going to be somebody who takes a car that was one of 13, rebuilds it, will be driven to put it back together, and will have a stamp that says, yes, this is a real Ferrari, and it's the original, and it's worth all the money he paid for it. And if we can do that, then maybe we can keep saving a piece of history. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you liked what you saw. Look for the next video that we're going to be putting out anytime soon. We're on literally every platform out there, so basically hit any button you have to follow us. We appreciate everybody out there that has been with us for the whole time, and thank you so much for the comments, the likes, everything. It really means a lot because we hit a lot of milestones this year, and I'm really happy for it. I'm looking forward to what the future holds. But until the next video, Excelsior.